I never thought a single sentence could shatter a marriage. It happened on an ordinary evening. No fights, no tears, just a quiet dinner that tasted like goodbye. She looked at me across the table, her eyes distant, her hands trembling slightly as she put down her fork. Then she said it. "Nishaad, I think I need some space." Those 6 words echoed in my mind long after she left the room. Space? From what? From love? From me? Our home, once filled with laughter and shared dreams, now fell hollow, like the walls themselves were grieving. Every photo on the wall became a memory I didn't want to see, every empty chair a reminder that something had gone terribly wrong. I told myself it was temporary, that she just needed time to breathe. But deep inside, something darker whispered, "What if she's already gone?" Days turned into weeks, and silence became my only companion. The sound of her voice faded into memory, replaced by the echo of unanswered questions. I didn't know it then, but that one request for space wasn't about healing or clarity. It was a carefully chosen word, a quiet way to leave me without saying goodbye. And when I finally discovered the truth behind her silence, I realized she hadn't needed space. She needed freedom. And I gave it to her, wrapped in legal papers. For 5 years, our marriage looked perfect from the outside. Nishaad and Rukhsar, the couple everyone admired. We were the ones people pointed to at parties and said, "That's real love." We met in college. 2 dreamers who believed love could conquer anything. I was an architecture student, always sketching buildings that touched the clouds. She was a marketing major, full of color, laughter, and wild ideas. Together, we were unstoppable. Our first apartment was small, but it was ours. We built it with love. Handwritten notes on the fridge, movie nights on the couch, burnt pancakes on Sunday mornings. Life wasn't perfect, but it was happy. But somewhere along the way, things began to change. Quietly, like a slow leak in a sinking ship. Rukhsar started coming home later than usual. "Work's been crazy," she'd say, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She stopped laughing at my jokes. Our conversations turned into short exchanges about groceries and bills. The woman who once ran into my arms now brushed past me like a stranger in her own home. I noticed the small things first. The phone always face down. The sudden text notifications at midnight. The way she'd guard her screen if I happened to walk by. At dinner, her eyes would drift to the clock instead of meeting mine. I'd ask if she wanted to take a weekend trip. She'd say she was too busy. When I reached for her hand, she'd gently pull away, saying she was tired. I tried to ignore the unease growing inside me, convincing myself it was just stress, that every couple goes through phases. But deep down, I could feel something slipping, something breaking. One night, I cooked her favorite meal, creamy pasta with garlic bread and wine. I lit candles, played our song, and waited. She walked in 2 hours late, exhausted, distracted, and barely noticed the effort. When she saw the table, she sighed. "Nishaad, you didn't have to do all this. I'm not really hungry." Her words cut deeper than any argument ever could. That night, as I sat alone at the table staring at 2 untouched plates, I realized love doesn't die in explosions. It fades in whispers, in small, silent moments of disconnection. And ours was fading fast. It happened on a Thursday evening, the kind of night that looks ordinary from the outside, but changes everything inside you. I was sitting on the couch, half watching a show I wasn't really paying attention to. The sound of the front door opening made me glance up, and there she was, Rukhsar, her face pale, her eyes swollen, her lips trembling as if she had been rehearsing something painful all day. She didn't take off her coat. She didn't kiss me hello. She just stood there, clutching her phone like it was her lifeline. "Nishaad," she began softly, her voice fragile. Something inside me tightened. I muted the TV. "I think," she paused, looking anywhere but at me, "I think I need some space." Those 6 words felt like a slow knife twisting in my chest. I tried to stay calm. "Space? From what? Did I do something wrong?" She shook her head quickly. No, it's not you. I just feel lost. I need to find myself again." I wanted to ask, "Find yourself where?" But the lump in my throat made it impossible. She continued, I'm going to stay at Sarah's place for a while, just until I can think clearly. Her tone was final, practiced, like she had already made up her mind long before speaking. I nodded slowly, trying to respect her decision, even though every part of me was screaming not to let her go. That night, I helped her pack, folded her clothes, watched her slip her wedding ring off her finger, and set it on the nightstand. When the door finally closed behind her, the silence that filled the house was heavier than anything I'd ever known. I told myself she just needed time. That love was strong enough to survive a little distance. But as the days turned into weeks, and her calls grew fewer and shorter, I started to realize she hadn't gone to find herself. She'd gone to lose me. Days turned into weeks, and Rukhsar's silence became the new rhythm of my life. At first, I tried to stay positive. I sent her messages, small ones. Hope you're doing okay. Miss you. Dinner's waiting if you want to come home. Sometimes she replied hours later. Sometimes not at all. She said she was still thinking, that she needed clarity. I told myself to give her time, that maybe space would bring her back. But the distance didn't heal anything. It just hollowed me out. Nights felt endless. I'd fall asleep clutching her pillow, still smelling her perfume faintly on the sheets. Every corner of the house whispered her name. Even silence carried her absence. Then one Friday night, my phone buzzed with a message from an old friend, Mark. He sent a photo with no caption. It was Rukhsar, sitting at a restaurant, laughing with another man. My chest went cold. I stared at the image for a full minute, refusing to believe what I saw. Her smile, that same smile she once reserved only for me, was now shining for someone else. And that restaurant, I knew it. It was our place, the spot where I had proposed to her. I felt sick, confused, angry, but more than anything, broken. I didn't confront her right away. I wanted to believe there was an explanation. Maybe it was just a friend, a co-worker, something harmless. But deep down, I already knew the truth. I just didn't want to see it. A few days later, I called a private investigator, something I never imagined doing in my life. His name was Lewis, a calm man with kind eyes who had seen far too many broken hearts in his career. I just need to know the truth. I told him, whatever it is. He nodded. You deserve that much. For the next week, I lived in a fog, checking my phone constantly, waiting for his report, hoping against hope that I was wrong. Then one morning, an envelope arrived. Inside were photos time-stamped undeniable. Rukhsar and her co-worker, Jason, holding hands outside his apartment, kissing in his car, checking into a hotel together. Each picture was a blade slicing through what little hope I had left. I sat at the dining table, the same place where we used to share meals, staring at those photos until my vision blurred. I couldn't cry. The pain had gone beyond tears. All the pieces fell into place. The late nights, the guarded phone, the distant eyes. She hadn't needed space. She'd already found someone to fill it. That evening, she texted me casually, "Hope you're doing okay." I stared at the screen, my hands trembling. For the first time, I didn't reply, because in that moment, I understood the woman I had loved was gone. And the hardest part wasn't losing her. It was realizing she'd already left long before she walked out the door. 3 days passed after I saw the photos. 3 days of pretending to breathe, to eat, to exist, while every heartbeat felt like it was echoing inside an empty shell. On the 4th evening, Rukhsar came by to pick up a few things. When she walked through the door, she looked surprised. Maybe she thought I'd still be the same quiet, patient man she left behind. "Hey," she said softly, her voice uncertain. "Hey," I replied. My tone was calm, almost too calm, the kind of calm that comes right before a storm. She started gathering her clothes into a bag, avoiding my eyes. Finally, I spoke. "You could have just told me, you know." Her hands froze midair. "Told you what?" I turned my phone toward her, showing her the photos. For a second, she didn't move, her expression blank, her breath caught. Then her lips trembled. "Nishaad, this isn't what it looks like." "Don't." I interrupted quietly. "Please don't insult both of us." She dropped onto the couch, her eyes filling with tears. I didn't plan this. I just felt lost. Jason listened to me when you didn't. Her words hit hard, sharper than any blade. I didn't listen? I said, my voice cracking. Rukhsar, I've been trying for months, begging you to talk to me, to tell me what's wrong. But you pushed me away, straight into the arms of someone else. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I didn't mean to hurt you. I laughed softly, without humor. You mean to? You just did. Silence filled the room, heavy, suffocating. After a long pause, I took a deep breath and said, you said you needed space. I thought you meant time to heal, but you meant a life without me. She looked up, desperate. Nishaad, please. I'm confused. I just need to figure things out. I shook my head slowly. No, Rukhsar. You already have. You made your choice the moment you walked into his arms. I picked up her bag, handed it to her gently. You wanted space. I'll give you all the space in the world. She hesitated, her lips parting as if to say something. But then she stopped. She grabbed the bag, turned toward the door, and left without another word. The moment the door clicked shut, the house fell into silence again. But this time, it didn't hurt the same way. This time, the silence meant something different. It meant the end. The night after Rukhsar left, I sat alone in the living room, surrounded by silence that felt both painful and peaceful. Her ring still rested on the nightstand, a small, golden reminder of everything we once were. I turned it over my palm again and again, wondering how something that once symbolized forever could now feel so meaningless. Sleep didn't come that night. Instead, I sat in the dark, thinking about every moment that had led to this. Every time I forgave, every time I waited, every time I hoped. It was as if I'd been holding on to a ghost of a woman who had already let go of me long ago. By morning, I wasn't angry anymore, just empty. But beneath that emptiness, a quiet strength began to form. Something inside me whispered, enough. I called my friend Daniel, who worked at a law firm. He didn't ask questions. Maybe he heard the finality in my voice. Nishaad, he said gently, are you sure you're ready for this? I paused, staring at the ring one last time before replying, I have to be. That afternoon, I met with his colleague, a divorce lawyer named Karen. She was professional, calm, and direct. I'm not doing this out of revenge. I told her, I just can't live in a marriage where love is a one-way street. She nodded knowingly. Sometimes closure isn't about winning. It's about walking away with dignity. As I signed the initial papers, my hands trembled, not from fear, but from relief. For the first time in months, I felt like I was reclaiming control of my own story. Before leaving, Karen said, we'll serve her the papers soon. You don't have to tell her yourself. Let the truth speak for you. I thanked her and walked out into the cool evening air. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and gray, endings and beginnings blending together. And for the first time in a long time, I could finally breathe again. A week passed after I met with the lawyer. Life had gone strangely quiet. No messages, no drama, just silence. I spent most days at work, trying to lose myself in designs and deadlines, pretending my heart wasn't still bruised from everything she'd done. Then, one afternoon, my phone lit up a name I hadn't seen in days. Rukhsar. For a moment, I just stared at the screen. My heart skipped, but my mind stayed still. Finally, I answered. Hey, I said calmly. Her voice sounded soft, almost hesitant. Hi, Nishaad, how have you been? It was a strange question, too gentle, too casual for everything that had happened. I've been fine, I replied simply. I've just been thinking, she continued. About us, about everything. Maybe we should talk. Her tone carried something I hadn't heard in a while, uncertainty, maybe even regret. But I didn't bite. Sure, I said. Talk to my lawyer. She'll explain everything. There was a pause. Your lawyer? Yes, I said evenly. She'll be in touch. The next morning, Karen called to tell me the papers had been served. Rukhsar had received them personally. I could almost hear the storm that followed through the tone of her voice. 2 hours later, Rukhsar called again. Then again. Then again. By the fifth call, I finally picked up. Nishaad, she breathed, her voice trembling. What is this? Divorce papers? Are you serious? I stayed calm. You asked for space. I just made it official. She went silent for a long moment. Then her voice broke. Nishaad, please, don't do this. I made a mistake. Jason doesn't mean anything anymore. I thought I needed something different. But it's you. It's always been you. Her words might have melted me once. But now, they felt like echoes of a song that had already ended. I gave you everything, I said quietly. And when things got hard, you gave up. I can't build a future with someone who walks away the moment love stops feeling easy. She began to cry, whispering to the phone, Please, Nishaad, we can fix this. But I'd already made peace with the silence that followed. Goodbye, Rukhsar, I said gently. I hope you find whatever it is you were looking for. And before she could say another word, I hung up. For the first time since she left, the quiet didn't hurt. It felt peaceful, like closure. It had been 3 days since that final call. I hadn't expected to hear from her again, but life has a strange way of circling back to unfinished moments. That evening, I heard a knock on my door. When I opened it, there she was. Rukhsar! Her eyes were red, her hair unkempt, her face pale like she hadn't slept in days. In her hand, she held the divorce papers, slightly crumpled, as if she'd been clutching them too tightly. Nishaad, please, she whispered, her voice shaking. Can we just talk? I stepped aside silently, letting her in. The same house that once felt like a home now felt like a memory. She looked around, her eyes softening at the familiar details. The framed wedding photo, the piano she used to play, the couch where we'd spent countless nights talking about forever. I'm sorry, she said finally, her voice breaking. Jason ended things. He said he didn't want to be part of this mess. And when he walked away, I realized what I'd done, what I'd thrown away. I watched her, calm but distant. Rukhsar, you didn't lose me when you cheated. You lost me when you lied. When you made me feel like loving you wasn't enough. Tears streamed down her cheeks. I'll do anything Nishaad. Please, I can fix this. I shook my head gently. No, you can't fix what you destroyed to feel free. For a moment, silence hung between us, heavy and final. Then, without a word, she slipped the ring from her pocket and placed it on the table. I don't deserve this anymore, she whispered. I'm sorry. She turned to leave, pausing at the doorway as if waiting for me to stop her. But I didn't, because this time I finally understood love isn't proven by who stays the longest. It's proven by who respects you enough not to break you. As the door closed behind her, I felt the weight lift from my chest. The pain was still there, but it no longer owned me. This was goodbye, not out of anger, but out of peace. Months passed. The seasons changed, and so did I. The house no longer felt haunted by her absence. It became mine again, piece by piece. The silence that once felt suffocating turned peaceful, almost healing. I started running in the mornings, something I hadn't done in years. The cold air against my skin reminded me that I was still alive, still capable of moving forward. I redecorated the living room, donated her things, and replaced our wedding photo with a painting I'd always liked but she'd never approved of. It wasn't about erasing her. It was about reclaiming myself. Friends started noticing the change in me. You look lighter, one of them said. I smiled because, for the first time in a long while, it was true. Healing wasn't easy. Some nights, I still caught myself reaching for the empty side of the bed. Some mornings, I still woke up expecting her voice. But I stopped letting the memories control me. Instead, I learned to accept them, the good, the bad, the broken. Forgiveness came slowly, not for her, but for myself. For staying too long in something that was already gone. For mistaking loyalty for love. I realized something important. Closure doesn't come when someone apologizes. It comes when you stop needing them to. I stopped checking her social media. Stopped wondering if she regretted it. Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't. It no longer mattered. One evening, I stood by the ocean, the same spot where we'd once talked about our future. The waves rolled in and out, steady and endless, a reminder that life moves on, no matter who walks away. And in that moment, I finally smiled, not because the pain was gone, but because I had survived it. Love had broken me once, but healing had rebuilt me stronger. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I watched the waves crash and fade, just like we did. She once said she needed space, so I gave her the universe. I no longer carry anger or regret, only gratitude. Because sometimes losing someone isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of finding yourself again. And as the wind brushed against my face, I whispered to the sea, "Thank you for leaving, Rukhsar. You taught me how to stay with myself." Fade to black.